Hello. Hope everybody's had a good week and weekend. It's been so funny. I love living in New York when historic things happen, specifically coming out of the winter or during the winter. For example, this Saturday was 79 degrees amidst a week of, I think, low 40s. Yeah. And people were really getting worked up and really excited about this Saturday. And it was just everything and more for New Yorkers, being that anytime there's a taste of spring, not summer because summer's too hot, but spring weather, which we don't really get in New York. It kind of just whisks by, and then you go into horribly sweat dripping down your neck humidity. But people love an Aperol spritz. They are out on the streets. The vibes are so high, and it actually made me have a different perspective on seasonal depression. I do understand that people can really genuinely suffer from it, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for people in general. I think it actually allows you to have, by suffering, do you see and have more gratitude for when things are nice and when the sun is out. Having come through, I think it was a pretty average winter. Everybody says it's always the worst every year, which is so funny. That's something I've learned also moving here, which I'm why are we talking about the winter? We know all of this happens every year on the dime. This is not that interesting. But I do think coming out of 3 months of horrible, just chilling winds, cold weather, rain. The rain's the worst because you can't even walk. That when there is a nice day on the calendar, and this is around the time when New Yorkers are checking the weather weekly, because once you get a taste of that Aperol Spritz day, outdoor reservation, you're outside and you are vibes are literally high. You feel high in your body. You are just severe FOMO if you're not outside. There was footage of Central Park. Holy crap, there was not a single ounce of land, of grass in Central Park that people weren't occupied on. There was people littered across Central Park. It's insane. And that's a standard weekend in Central Park as well over the summer. Vibes were so high, and it just was a reminder to me, I do think a little dose of seasonal depression is healthy for the soul, because it makes you really appreciate when the weather is super nice and accommodating, and just it's way more joyful. So I'm not a huge fan of the winters, but I don't hate them, because I do like that I naturally feel a boost of serotonin for the following few months that I wouldn't normally have if I lived in California, because I think we just take for granted the weather, that it's super nice all the time, especially Southern California. The sun's always out. It's always so beautiful. Unless maybe you're in that group of people that is super appreciative to have that and thinks about that on the weekly, then I applaud you. That's amazing. But most people are not like you. But though vibes were very high this past weekend in New York, I spent the Saturday when the vibes were high. The vibes were still high with me, but I had to go to Jersey for my boyfriend's bridal shower. And let me tell you how freaking lucky you are if you own a car, because Manhattanites, we don't own cars unless you're wealthy, really wealthy. For example, in my building, to store a car and park a car is $1,700 a month. And that's not including your car payments, your gas. Ridiculous. So none of us have cars. Dylan and I, at least. None of my friends either. So God bless her. But my boyfriend's mom picked me up. The science equations I have to do in order to find out a pickup spot. As she's coming from Connecticut, we have to go down to the Jersey Shore, which is beneath Manhattan, but there's many bodies of water involved. Her drive from where she is in Connecticut to down there is 2.5 hours. I'm trying to find a pickup spot directly across in somewhere in Jersey. So I land on Newark Airport, pass it by Dylan. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, get picked up at like Newark airport area. I'm like, okay, sure. Already like in my head being like, we are going to be in the car transporting ourselves far longer than we will actually be at the bridal shower, but the things you do for family, so it's fine. And I had to Uber to New Jersey, get picked up, and then Uber home when I got back. Still very grateful to be picked up, or else I wouldn't have been able to go. But the amount of modes of transportation you have to take to move states in New York without a car is crazy. You go subway, to railroad train, to ferry, to Uber, to car ride. Fortunately, my situation was just Uber, because I live pretty similar directly across the Holland Tunnel into where I thought I was going to go, which was Newark. And then I don't know anything. I don't know what places are not safe in New Jersey or Long Island or Manhattan. Manhattan I do, but like all these other places, I don't know. I'm like oblivious. And I thought, since Dylan had suggested Newark Airport, I'm like, okay, we're good. I'll just like get picked up near there. God forbid I don't want to get picked up at the airport, because I'm going to get nauseous even going near the airport. The amount of trips I've taken over there and will continue to take, and I always get nauseous. It's just a nauseating drive. So I landed on a little place outside of Newark that was directly off the highway. I wanted to make it as convenient for his mom, and of course was at like a gas station. And I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, there's really not a lot going on over in this area. Like, it's kind of weird. There's a lot of like auto part places, whatever. So I landed on a spot. I sent it to her. We had agreed a week prior. And then the day before I left, I talked to one of my friends who I work out with, and she's from New Jersey. And she was like, and I was like, oh, by the way, is there a quicker way that I can get to this part in New Jersey? You live there. I'm planning on getting picked up here by my boyfriend's mom, but if you think a ferry could get me there quicker, like, let me know. And she's like, you will literally get shot if you get picked up where you have the pin dropped. Like, literally, like, do not walk anywhere. Like, don't get picked up there. And I was like, we were within the 24-hour range of when I was going to get picked up. I'm like, what do I do? Oh my God, I'm going to get shot? I'm like, wait, first of all, who throws that statement out there? That's really scary. Well, I think you guys were just looking at my bra because I have my castor oil pack on. I was like, what? I'm going to get shot? Like, I got to take that seriously. So we rerouted and found the place that was like 10 minutes away from the sketchy Newark area, and I got picked up there. So mental note, do not get picked up or walk around, especially if you're a female in Newark. Apparently it's like really dangerous. But yeah, so I spent majority of the wonderful, beautiful Saturday in the car, but we had great company. I always love hanging out with my boyfriend's family and his aunts and his mom. It's always a good time. And then now it's dumping rain. So leave it to, again, come off a great high, and that serotonin lasts a few days, and then it's raining the rest. Raining all weekend, raining all week, raining a little bit of next week. I'm like, God, my God. And my appetite has really kicked in these past 48 hours. I go through, sometimes it doesn't even align with my period, but every 3 weeks or every like 4 weeks, I will have an eating day where I am hungry hippo, munching on everything. And then Dylan gives me a hard time, which I'm like, you can actually F off. But he brought home Girl Scout cookies the other day in a surprise, and I was like, and he brought home the Samoas. I was like, oh, I don't really remember liking those. Literally lied. I ate 75% of that box, polished off a whole row this morning for breakfast, because I was like, oh, I think I like the tagalongs more. Which, by the way, Samoas, again, Dylan reminded me, he goes, there's every 2 of Samoas is 170 calories. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I literally have eaten like 900 calories this evening of Samoas. Oh my God, how do people lose weight? But that was cracking me up. So I was like eating those. I've been eating chips. I've been eating a bunch of beans, and my belly's been hurting. But I'm not the bitch that farts in workout classes. I am not the bitch, because I have been farted on many a times. I have smelled it, and it's visceral. Like, I like literally I cannot help but have a horrible reaction, because we already do hot yoga as is. It's already like our blood, sweat, tears, everything's flying in that room. Why do you have to add a fart element into this? That is just like actually rude. Hold it in, leave the room. Why are you farting? we already have your sweat all over the floor and probably on the people next to you. There is no need to let that methane out. And like, I literally will have visceral reactions. I'm like, like total Ramona or like Sonia from Real Housewives of New York, like ew, like so grossed out. And I like try to put my towel. I'm like kind of rude. I'm like putting this. Sometimes it's bad. I'm like, bro, you need to know that you can never do that again in a group of women who aren't supposed to judge you, but literally everybody's judging you. So, and I say this as my little last podcast. I shit my pants as I was boarding the plane. So we stay humble, folks. But yeah, appetite's been off the charts. Munching like a munchkin. And yeah, but groceries are expensive too. So I'm like, stop eating, Faith, stop eating. You're going to go broke. Anyhow, today was not a great work day. In the art of sales, there's always ups and downs. And I think sounds bad and pessimistic, and I'm not normally like this, but like it truly is, like you have to mourn the loss of losing a deal that you've worked on for so long, because it truly is a 50-50 chance that it's going to make it or break it until that person signs on the dot. So we got not great news, but the game's not over. But anywho, it reinforced my theme and topic for today, which is self-confidence. And especially when things are rattled in areas that maybe you have confidence in, and kind of things are shaken up there in like your career, how you can balance it out and kind of take yourself out from spiraling in that one category, and feeling really bad about yourself and feeling like you aren't good enough and having low self-esteem, how you can basically break up your self-confidence in other areas of your life. So when you do have one that's a little shaky, you can lean on the others. And I think a great analogy for this that came to me like in a heartbeat, because I had just come off like a huge Harry Potter binge these past, like not really so much these past few months, but in the thick of the 3-month winter, I had gone through like a huge Harry Potter phase where I was just like, I think I had watched them all in like a week. But Dylan and I did see the Broadway show Harry Potter in December when my mom was visiting, and holy crap, that is one of the best Broadway shows I've ever seen in my life. It is true beyond magic. We were YouTubing how they, behind the scenes, how they did it. There was nothing online. It was mind-blowing. They had the wands casting true spells. They had people spinning in the middle of the air with no strings. They had a crazy scene where all the lights went off and there was like writing on all the walls everywhere. It was like, I have chills even thinking about it. It was an unbelievable show. Highly recommend. And I don't know which one it is. I think it's the 6th. And it's when they want Harry and Lord Farquaad? Faith? No. Dumbledore. Lord Farquaad? Dumbledore and Harry go to kill all the Horcruxes in Harry Potter because Tom Riddle, before becoming Voldemort, had spread himself out amongst all these different artifacts and like things so it would make him immortal. And I really think that's a great analogy to how you should disperse your self-confidence and how you can make your self-confidence stable if you have little pieces of yourself dispersed throughout many different things. And I'll kind of describe personally for me how I feel like I've done it. And I've done this pretty naturally. Like, I will say, disclaimer, I don't really know what's helped with my self-confidence. Yeah, maybe I should start there, but I don't really know what's helped me be a self-confident person. But like, especially being in New York, it's very clear to me that I have good self-esteem. It's not to say that I don't have days where I'm like, what the fuck, hippopotamus, are you? Maybe you're being a bit too aggressive. Like, 100% I question that sometimes. But for the most part, I really like who I am. And I feel like I show up really well for my friends and my boyfriend and my family. So I feel secure in that. And at the end of the day, you can only really tell yourself that. But I was trying to think, like, where did this come from? I think it comes from having very loving parents and very encouraging and reinforcing parents. And fortunately, they reinforced good behaviors in me, and hopefully I'm not a narcissist, but I do think parents can reinforce bad behavior in children, or maybe behavior that they don't think necessarily is bad, but they just want to be really encouraging and loving, and sometimes it can backfire. But I think in this case, my dad and mom always said this, but they always wanted us to be trying new things, especially growing up. And like, I mean, that's all what your childhood should be. It's just like trying and experimenting. And like, I don't know why we lose that in life. It just becomes harder and riskier, and your self-confidence, again, plays into the fear of failure. And so you don't try as many things, hence you don't build up your self-confidence more. But I do think at a young age, my parents exposed me and encouraged me to try a lot of new things, new sports, theater, meet new friends, be involved with a bunch of different people in just different walks of life, as diverse it can get in Menlo Park, California. But I mean, I had quite a few like category of friends that I surrounded myself with that were very different. And like, I don't think the groups would have been able to hang out with each other. But trying new things built that foundational layer of confidence for me, and knowing that I can have a really, really resilient personality because I know who I am, and because I'm doing so many things. Like, you're almost distracting yourself from like hyperfixating on one thing, and doing a lot of things and having successes, and most importantly is failing in a lot of those small things and big things. But the failing and having that resiliency to pick yourself back up and be like, okay, head still there, arm still there, like I'm fully still attached, like am I the same person? All right, voice sounds the same. Okay, great. Like, knowing that you can not do well, not succeed, and there's another layer to that, and know that you are okay and will continue and will persevere, but then also knowing that you're still loved, knowing that you're still appreciated, knowing that you're still like admired, and continue to be encouraged by your parents despite the failure. I think actually that is probably the most important part of my foundational self-confidence and of a kid's self-confidence, is when you fail, knowing mommy and daddy still love you, and your sisters still love you, and your brothers still love you, and grandma still loves you, and it doesn't change how we view you, and you're just going to go try something else. And even if you liked it, you can keep going. Like, just because you failed at that one race or that one meet or that one orchestra practice, you can keep going. Like, it's your decision to do that. So showing love leading up, through, and after failure or successes with my parents, I think really helped lay the foundation for my self-confidence. Also, having 2 older sisters, nothing will humble you more than having older sisters. Truly, it's a good filter for me with women in this world when they have older siblings, because I'm like, I know you fucking got beat the fuck up, and literally still to this day probably get like minorly bullied, and like, you don't empathize, you don't have sympathy for yourself, like you're not a victim, but no one will humble you like an older sister when you are acting out of line, or not even acting out of line, just being yourself. Sometimes they will humble you, and I have some great one-liners from my sisters growing up, but one that comes to mind is so obvious, and some of you may not know, but we grew up in Northern California. And there's about a 9-year difference between me and my oldest sister, Megan, and then like a 5-6 year difference between me and my middle sister, Lauren, and then I'm the baby. And growing up, I had an obsession with Buzz Lightyear. Like, Toy Story had been released, Toy Story 1, like around when I was born, like 2000. I was born in 99, and then the following series continued, and I was fascinated by Buzz Lightyear. Like, why not Woody? Why not the cute cowgirl? Like, why Buzz Lightyear? He literally is dumb. Like, he literally has no brain cells, stupid. But I loved him, and I think I loved his bravery and his just lack of self-awareness and just freeness and playfulness. I don't know, I just really, really was drawn to him, and I wanted to emulate him in my life and be him in a way. And I had Buzz Lightyear branded everything. And this, again, is feeding into my parents' building my self-confidence, because they allowed me to be self-expressive and be myself, and didn't try to hinder that or show their judgment of like, oh, Faith, like, it's a little much with the Buzz Lightyear underwear, shoes, socks, pants, shirts, hats. we can take one off. Like, no, they let me like free reign, and same with my sisters, let them do their whack shit too. And we just did it. But it was also funny because there was such a broad age gap between me and my oldest sister, Megan, that at the time when we lived in our house in Atherton, we had like a really nice backyard, really fun pool. My mom and dad always had people over, always had kids over. Our house was like the communal house. And Megan was like a teenager, and she would throw these pool parties where like you have to be the epic cool girl. Like, girls are going through puberty, so they have boobs, they want to wear bikinis. Dads are roasting hot dogs on the grill, like so innocent and cute. And then here I would come like sprinting out of my room in my Buzz Lightyear trunks and no top. I definitely was going through like a self-expression, like didn't have boobs, didn't know that you were supposed to like not wear a top. Truly, I don't know if I could spend a day in that body as Faith done at like 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my God. No, I'm more like 5, 6, 7. No. Yeah, 5, 6, 7. I would die to do that. Like, and just be able to like think how freely I was, and like just nutty and like playful, and like who gives a fuck? I don't. And then I have Megan and Lauren who are like, get over here, like you should be wearing a bikini top. Like, all the girls that are normal and your age, they wear bikini tops. Like, this is embarrassing. Like, mom, dad, this is so embarrassing. And my mom and dad they put their foot down. They were like, let Faith do her thing. Because when they would try to put me in a bikini top, i.e. my sister somehow cornered me and tried to put me in, it was gone in a second. Like, it was ripped off at the bottom of the pool. But that is a core memory of my parents allowing me to be truly self-expressive, alongside the earlier mention of being loved and encouraged before, during, and after failures and success. I think really set the scene for who I am today, and trying new things, and being a resilient person and a self-confidence person, which the theme of this is about. But getting into kind of the Horcrux idea of self-confidence is, I mean, it's pretty simple. When you're growing up, you, as a child, your self-confidence is really based in your family, and not even really your surroundings. Is how much are you taking in as like a 5, 6, 7-year-old? Like, not that much. Yeah, school as well, but like mostly the roots of who you are as a person is based in how your family perceives you. And don't even get me started. I would like literally start crying thinking about parents who neglect their children or discourage their children, or are just not loving and kind to people that they chose and brought into this world, or not even chose sometimes, but brought into this world. Like, how could you not be so loving and affectionate and encouraging of these little cute beings? Like, what? But that's definitely where it starts. And then eventually, as you get into like preteen, your community and your friends take more of a front seat in terms of deciding, or in terms of influencing how you view yourself. Like, there's lots of copying. I remember all the cool girls would copy all the cool girls, and then the cool girls would get mad at the girls that were copying them. They're like, it's my idea. And it's like, impression is the greatest form of flattery, but you don't learn that until later. And that becomes like front and center for, you want the boys to like you, you want to be good, start being good at sports, you want to start knowing that once you are getting good grades, the teachers start paying certain attention to you. Once you start performing well in your sport, the coaches start paying more attention to you, and the other parents start paying more attention to you. And it's like attention. It's like positive feedback from your environment and your community. And your family, not so much. Like, still really important, but for me personally, I felt like I was so caught up with what everybody else was thinking of me and how I was being viewed, and wanting to like continue my reputation. And then you get into teen, and then probably as a girl, like boys probably take a front seat for that, and like getting male attention, and like being competitive with your friends sometimes if they're getting more attention than others. And it becomes even more centered around attention. And it also can be really confusing with like puberty and hormones, and like some girls get acne, some girls get boobs, like your body's changing. Like, oh, I want big boobs. So like, oh, I got my, like lying about getting your period, lying about losing your virginity, being ashamed of it, having sex, all this, that becomes super, it like rattles your sense of self, because it's societal. There it is. Societal norms creep in, because then you start to kind of be more like self-aware and more societally aware of like, oh, these things are happening at these ages, and I'm not on track to losing my virginity, to trying alcohol, to doing this, to kissing a boy, to getting my period, to getting boobs. Like, these things aren't happening. What's wrong with me? And the societal norms can really shapeshift the way you view yourself in your teenage years. And then you get to college and you think you have it figured out because you're a young adult. And I was actually talking to some friends this past weekend, and we were like, what the actual fuck were we thinking when we thought we were so hot shit at 18? Like, literally a baby, actually a baby. And we were dying laughing because before you were 18, before you were 16, what would you show when you go to the airport? You are ID-less. You have nothing, right? We like actually were too stunned to speak. We had no idea. We were like, did we just show up to the airport and we're like, hey, look at my face, I'm gonna walk on through security? We didn't have IDs before we were 16. Did we have to bring our passport? Like, I'm confused. Or maybe our parents vouched for us. I'm really not sure. Now they must have records of people's faces no matter what age you are, I suppose. Wow, it's like still baffling me. And when you turn 18, like, you think you're hot shit. And then you get jolted off into college. And I do think it's important to separate yourself from your home when you go to college and like really try to gain a new experience. Of course, like, you factor in academics and sports and stuff like that. But I really do think it's important for your self-esteem, for a kid's, because you are a kid. I'm still a kid. I feel like I still am a kid, like I'm 26. But I feel like it's really important as a kid to, and as from of a parent, to encourage your kid to leave the home and like sever that line as much as you can, so they can really build their self-confidence in a net new environment. Like, really place them in an entirely new setting, which I think we overplay it in college. Like, I really don't think it's as uncomfortable as we think, because like, if you're going to school in America, like, everybody speaks English. It's not like you're in a foreign country. And when everybody goes abroad, that's when you're like, oh my God, it was like the most life-changing experience. Maybe I'm just a hater because I never did that, but I'm just like, come on, like, have you never been to Europe before? Like, okay, they're not speaking English, but you're not like Picasso out there and doing crazy things. Anywho, I do think we overplay the college thing. I think it's very important to go to a new place, but I don't think it's as uncomfortable as we think it is, because like, A, everybody speaks English. B, there are a massive group of freshmen that are in the exact same position as you. So I do think that helps center yourself and feel more comfortable, and gives you like a cushion at least to build that self-confidence more in college, because you can look to other people who are in the same position as you and be like, oh, you're literally going through exactly what I'm going through. Do you want to be friends? And I think what makes college really interesting is there's like a moment of desperation in there where you think that because you're like-minded with these people who chose the same college as you and who were also freshmen with you, that you guys are naturally all going to get along. But then all of a sudden you quickly start to realize that your roots didn't grow in the same place. Like, you're from different places around America, maybe they're international as well, and that just adds like a really noticeable layer in how people communicate with each other and how they view relationships and how they view friendships. Maybe they might prioritize guys and dating over their friendship. Maybe they've never had a good girlfriend relationship in their life. Maybe they're an only child, whereas in your preteen, adolescence, teenage years, where you grew up, if you moved around a lot, you totally have a different sense. And arguably, I would think that you're far more confident than any of us. But I had 0 to 18 in the same area as many of my friends did. And we were all very similar at the end of it. Like, there was not a lot of change happening. So in many ways, it gives you this disjointed view of reality that just because you're around people that you'll get along, and that like things won't change very much. And the change element needs to happen in college, as in you need to go somewhere that's different from where you grew up. And then once you get there, you carry this disjointed reality of, oh, everybody chose this same college, so they might be similar to me. They must be similar to me in some ways. we're all here and we're all freshmen, so they must all want to be friends. And then you quickly realize, like, holy crap, people, no, like, I don't actually get along with these people. Like, what's happening? I get along with this person. I kind of like I kind of like that about that person and this person, but like, what's going on? Like, I'm really confused. Like, I guess I'll go out with these people, but like, I don't really know if I have a really good time. Like, these new teammates, like, they don't really act or like do things similar to how my old teammates do. Like, they actually don't work that hard, or they don't really celebrate people that well. And it just really starts to confuse you. And I think, if anything, it can really rattle your sense of self more than being back home. And this probably isn't a hot take too, but because you're in such a new environment, it's so like startling, and you're around all these people that you think you're going to get along with, and then you start to suss people out, and you're like, wait, I actually really don't like you, or wow, I actually totally misjudged you, miscalculated you. I really like you. I want to spend more time with you. Oh, but you've already spent way more time with those people. So like, how am I going to then reintroduce myself to the friend group? And then there's also this weird concept of, in your freshman year, all of a sudden people are BFFs with everybody. And then sometimes you're like, I've known the people who were like, I literally didn't make a single friend freshman year. Everybody has these really solid friend groups. And then sophomore year, I have to like do it again. Like, I have to like reintroduce myself or introduce myself to these friend groups that were roommates in college, or like joined a sorority and I didn't get into that sorority. Like, how am I supposed to be? College is like growing up in your neighborhood and in your city up until you're 18 years old. It's like a petri dish. Like, all of the different variables that are added, like things just grow spontaneously out of each other. But college is like a puzzle piece, and some of the pieces are missing. Most of them are there, but you soon start to realize that there's gaps in the big picture. And I had an analogy for, you just start to realize that just things aren't as they seem, and it really can shake your sense of self, as well as, this whole decision fatigue. Specifically, I know my generation kind of felt it, or my grade at least felt it, but growing up in Silicon Valley, I've talked about this before, it's like a very high pressure, like they make it seem like it's very high stakes. Actually, this is a great segue. Very high stakes. It is an incubator for people who are always trying to be better than the legacy that has lived and exists in Silicon Valley of really smart people, really wealthy people, people with great ideas, great athletes. Like, it's a high pressure environment. And I almost feel like my grade, it was like at the peak, and that might be very partial, and it could be way worse right now. So I'd be interested to hear people's perspectives if you still go to MA or Menlo or Sacred Heart. But it was like, it was intense. Like, people either talked about their SAT scores or never said a word because they were really embarrassed. People either were really proud about the college they went to, or super embarrassed because it was like a highly admitted college, and they were just like in the transfer portal because they just wanted to transfer like USC or somewhere in Texas or anywhere else. But that was hard because for me personally, like, I took myself very seriously in high school and college because I was always trying to prove myself, specifically always trying to prove myself and always trying to be better and compare myself to the next person. Like, comparison, especially, I miss that in teenage years, is huge. And I know I didn't miss that because I was like, comparing bodies changing and grades, and what college did you get into? How cute is your boyfriend? Who asked you to prom? Like, it's like, there are things that are contained in your teenage years, but there are things that change, and that's when comparison really comes in. And then you get into college, and it's not only is there instability in the friend groups and who you're hanging out with and things that were really consistent before, but the comparison is also heightened as well. There's so many people. I think it's different if you kind of know if you're like a big school or a small school person, but comparison can be just as bad at both. You can be really overwhelmed by the masses of people and all these different friend groups that you're like, oh, well, maybe I like them more. Maybe I should try to like them though. My time is so finite. Like, I don't know who I'm supposed to hang out with. Or in the small group, you're like, wow, this is just like high school. Like, I kind of know everybody. I kind of know everybody's business. Like, this is kind of weird. I think I've exhausted all the friendships with all these people. Like, I don't really know if I have any. I don't know if my people are actually here. Start to overthink things. And college, because of all the change, just really rattles your self-esteem and self-worth even more. But then slowly through college, you start to realize across the 4 years that you can slowly go through change and look back and find that you are resilient and that the only way out is through. And once you meet that person that introduces you to that person, you start to have friend groups form. You start to maybe get involved in recreational sports, or maybe start to feel more confident in the sport if you did play sports in college, or you join a club, or you realize that you have a hobby. Because a lot of college is kind of like reconnecting with the playful and youthful and freedom, being away from your family side and just trying new things, and you kind of reintegrate into being like a kid again in a way, and just like having fun and being free. I felt like I didn't really do that, because right when I quit sports, I had the freedom to, and I had like the best year of my life that I wish I could have continued, but COVID hit during like halfway through my junior year and senior year, or no, my whole junior year and senior year, I think. I don't even remember anymore. But I felt like because of sports, it had conditioned me to operate in such a way where I had to navigate the politics of having teams and various personalities on a teams, and the high stakes of being at a really high performing institution, and not feeling like I belonged and not feeling like that was good enough. So I was battling the dialogue that I had battled all through high school, again in college. So my personality, I feel like, didn't change that much until I did quit, until I had that realization that like this was not serving me anymore. And that's when I really realized, like, oh my God, you're a cool person, Faith. Like, why'd you do this sooner? No, I'm so appreciative for all the opportunities that swimming has provided for me in water polo, but it was like, whoa, I had a major realization point. I was like, what the have I been doing? But for many others who don't have the same experience as me, and maybe you do feel the changes in sports, but even honestly, if you do sports for all 4 years, there is a steep fucking drop off in an athlete's identity, one that I've spoken about with one of my good friends that I've grown up with and went to UCLA with. There's a steep drop off with how you view your self-identity, because it goes back to my original point, your self-confidence and self-esteem is so deeply rooted in sports, in achieving and performance in this one thing, that when that's gone, who are you? And it's very rattling, and it's almost impossible to prevent, especially if you spend so much time doing one thing. Hence the importance to spread out your interests in many ways. Makes it way more easier in your early 20s and mid 20s. And maybe that's what makes the 20s so fun, so challenging, so interesting, so strange. But you really are able to, following college, finally have different branches of yourself. And again, you know, it's weird leaving college too. Like you lose a little piece of yourself too, because you're like, wait, I made my petri dish in college. Like I created my petri dish. Like I found all the different things and I put it in my little petri dish, and now you have to take it away. Like that's not fair. And now I have to go to this freaking like aquarium of a world and sit here and watch people just like do things and fishies swim. Like, I don't know, that's a weird analogy, but like I feel like kind of makes sense, where you were given a petri dish growing up, 0 to 18. College, you cultivate this petri dish of all these different things. Like you add in all these variables and you see what grows, and you've created it. And then you have to reintegrate into a whole new setting where you're like, this is the norm. Like people just work 9 to 5 and then live for the weekends. Like what? Like this is so scary. My friends are moving. You want to move to London? You're working so much. Like you're making how much money? Like, oh, you really like your job? Oh, you really hate your job? Oh, you don't have a job? Oh, your parents just bought you an apartment? What's happening? What? How can it be so different for so many people? Like, and again, rattles your sense of self so much, to the point where for me, I felt instinctual, because we were coming off of COVID. It felt so natural and so instinctual, and again, had really great encouragement from my family, from my mom and my dad, to move to New York, that I was like, this is just what's going to happen. Like no negotiations needed. I'm going to move. I need change. I need to be in a new place. I don't feel myself growing in LA anymore. I'm bored. And I just did it and up and left. And now there's a lot of UCLA people coming to New York, which is so exciting and makes me so thrilled for our community that we can build here and that exists here. But I don't think if I had done that, I would feel as confident as I do today, honestly, because I put myself in a challenging position. I have pieces of myself in Menlo Park. I have pieces of myself in Westwood. I have pieces of myself now in New York. I have pieces of myself in my career. And eventually, if I pivot careers or start my own business, I'll leave a piece of myself in this part of my career. I leave a little piece of myself in the companies I work for because, integrating with these types of people, balancing the different types of personalities, navigating getting started in your career and not knowing what you're doing and knowing what you're doing and then being good at it and then not being good at it. And then, all of that. I have pieces of myself in the people I date and my friends and all the friend groups I've had, like just reminiscing on the many friend groups I've had throughout my life. It sometimes makes me feel insecure because I'm like, is it normal to have like this many friend groups and to like have been friends with this many people? But honestly, in all honesty, like I don't have any regrets. I think to live a life with regrets is one of my worst fears in my life, and I can truly say I live so authentically myself that I never feel insecure about losing certain friends or not being friends with people anymore. I think it's really natural to fall out of friendships with people, and it sucks when there's no explanation, but I will say it's helped improve my self-esteem and my self-confidence because I can stop being friends with that one person and still like who I am. I can stop dating that person and still like who I am. I can start dating this person and still like who I am. I can start being friends with this person and still like who I am. Like it'd be having that exposure to all these different people and these friend groups and these personalities helped me learn so much more about how I want to show up as a friend, as a person, the qualities that, might be unattractive to people in general or attractive to people, and knowing kind of how to like soften and kind of not hide who I am, but, not mold, but be adaptable to people and so they can respond better to me, like learning that as well. And having exposure to so many different personalities over my teammates and the friends I've had, it's allowed me to be a little bit more self-aware, and kind of be in tune with how I make people feel. But I leave pieces of myself in my friends. I leave Horcruxes in career, in family, in friends, in communities, in cities. And if you are ever feeling like you're not sure about who you are as a person, or your self-esteem is really unclear, and maybe you're hyperfixated on body image, or if your career is good enough, if you're making enough money, if you have good enough friends, remind yourself the things that you are confident in. Maybe you are a really good cook. Maybe you are a really good granddaughter. Maybe you're a really good aunt. Maybe you love your job and are really good at your job, and you might not get great recognition, but you're good at it. Like, write down the things that you're good at, and if you can categorize them as two, it really helps your brain register like, oh, no, Faith, like, rationally speaking, I'm looking at this list and you are really good at these things. Or have your sister or your brother, your mom, your dad, never hurts to have family members, as partial as they are, help with this, but have them write down things that they think you're really good at in these categories as well. Like, give them categories. You need to start reminding yourself of this. Or maybe, you write the list and it's short. Don't step away from that. Lean in, be like, okay, I have like one thing I'm really good at, and the one thing that help my self-confidence. But I mean, you're probably selling yourself short, but if you don't feel like you have a lot of things to be confident in, then find something and go be great at it. And maybe it's an interest that I know I've talked about this 100,000 times, but maybe it's something that you've just been too shy to go pick up and do and try, or go try a new thing. Even trying new things, and I've said this before, failing at them helps encourage your self-confidence, because it shows that you're a resilient person, and your body will be intact, your brain will be intact afterwards, after that failure, and nobody will treat you differently. unless it was like a public humiliation, then, well, I shit my pants last weekend and it was a public humiliation and no problem. But you have to go try new things, fail at things, to build your self-confidence. And it's a win-win situation, in my opinion. And if you're ever struggling with your self-confidence, give me a call. Like, we can talk this through. I'm more than happy to guide you through ways that you can be self-expressive, that you can really, honestly, emulate people that you admire and character traits. That would be great advice. That's going to be great. That's great advice that I'll give right now. If you don't think you're good at things, or if your self-esteem is rocky and you don't feel very good about yourself, or maybe you're unsure about who you are, if you do have a person in your life, and honestly, it could be a public figure, that you really like certain qualities about them, emulate them, act like them, be them, like copy them, and see how your life changes and your mindset changes and the way you view yourself and the way you see people viewing you changes. I think that's a super easy way to improve your self-confidence. So I'll slowly think of some more tips and tricks, but the Horcrux analogy helped me honestly feel really good about myself, because I feel that I am a self-confidence person and I really like who I am. I feel like I'm a really special person, and I don't feel bashful saying that. Like, I do know I have a lot to offer to this world, and I think it's on me now to offer that and to continue to show up as the best version of myself, continue to create, to continue to listen, continue to love, to continue to just be free and be myself. I think is the best service and best gift you can give yourself in life. And you want to look back on your whole legacy of who you are as a person and know, I literally was myself. Like, what more could you ask from me? I lived every day. It doesn't even have to be live every day to the fullest. I fucking lived every day. And I never felt disconnected to who I am as a person, because I continuously went back to these Horcruxes and to these branches of who I am to remind myself that I belong and that I have purpose here. So I really, really encourage you guys, because self-confidence it's a thing you work on every day. Honestly, you have to work on it every day. You have to pave that road so deep in your brain, not too deep because you don't want to become narcissistic, but you want to pave it so it's a beautiful, gorgeous, no speed bumped road where you can continue to come back to the things that make you feel really good about yourself, especially as life goes on. We'll continue to have things that'll rattle our self-confidence. We will be broken up with. We will have failed marriages. We will have failed friendships. We will have failed careers. We will lose things. We will maybe not earn as much money as we think. Like, we will continually have these hardships. But if you can continue to come back to that road and pave it and make it nice and make it pretty, then it'll make these hard things that we have no control over in life feel a lot easier, because at least you'll know that you're yourself and that you know how to connect to yourself and that you like who you are. So yeah, like who you are, guys. And if you don't, you need to work on it. Simple as that. But give me a call if you're in that group of people that doesn't like who you are. I'm happy to tell you things I like about you, and also just talk these things through. Like, I love helping others. It truly helps me by helping. So I love you all. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week and weekend. Let me know if you have any feedback on the content of these, or don't. I've never even heard from anybody, but that doesn't hurt my feelings. I keep producing. So love you. Bye.